Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me. I'm also a filmmaker and cosplayer with an eye for all things horror.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and It Came from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
All right. What's up, ghouls, guy? I can't even say it. What the fuck? All right.
Welcome back.
Take
Woo!
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our geeks of horror out there? In today's episode, we'll be discussing Beneath the Red Umbrella and the Dead of Winter Horror Network with returning guest James Lamond. Welcome back to the show, James.
Hi guys. Oh man, it's been a minute too, right? Like we haven't done anything since that vampire episode, and that was a hoot.
Been a hot minute, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I'm excited. I mean, it's you guys know I've been busy, so
You have been a busy man.
thank you. Yes, that's fair.
You know, and what better way to kick off season 5 than with a badass like you? So we're going to jump into, you've got a lot of new projects going. Last we talked to you, you had been working on vampire feature film. That how's that going?
Well, a lot of stuff I can't talk about because it's legal and money, but very well. I'm very excited. If all goes according to plan, pre-production will be wrapping up right after the festival this year, so right around March, and we will be on location firing this thing off by like next April.
Woo!
It's a go. It's happening.
That's
took us
awesome.
years, but we got there. Not easy making a feature film when you are truly independent. It's you got to go beg people for money a lot, and that's hard.
Can I ask where you're shooting? Just not a specific location, but what state even?
Oh, it'll pretty much be shot entirely in the state of Massachusetts. We've got a couple of really cool locations that I don't want to spoil. But we did get our hands on a really neat neighborhood that we're able to kind of just go bananas in and just do our thing. And it looks great. It looks awesome. And I think the most important part about it is it being called Stakes, a New England vampire story. It's actually going to look like New England, which is exciting. A lot of things, I know you guys are from out of state, so you probably don't notice it as much as us New Englanders do. But when a lot of people shoot a movie based in New England, it don't look like New England at all. At all. Like, okay, perfect example. One of my biggest inspirations, Salem's Lot. 1979 Tobe Hooper classic. That shit looks like Northern California all day long. It does not look like Maine. Maine does not look like that at all.
Yeah, I feel like anyone who hasn't been to New England, we have this idea of what New England looks like based on all of these movies, especially horror. We have this idea of what it's supposed to look like. And then the first time I ever flew into like the New England area, I think I flew into Boston and then did like a drive through over to Rhode Island. But just even being in that, I was like, this is not like what I pictured at all.
No, it's not.
It's better though. It's better.
It's beautiful. We have some very genuinely beautiful scenery around here, and some beautiful architecture if you know where to look for it. Because being we're the threshold of America, we have the oldest buildings in the country. Like just kind of goes hand in hand. And if you get your hands on some of that architecture to shoot with, we got whole castles out here. We got towns that ain't nobody using no more. And they're all old and creepy, and they look awesome. And yeah, I and the Dead of Winter, we try to keep it. We keep it New England. We try to keep it in the house, reciprocating the economy up here, and doing our thing that way. And in that regard, it's good. Like, we built a really strong foundation with that. And, there's a lot of day labor trade-in. There's a lot of give me a free location today, I give you a free makeup artist tomorrow. Like, wheeling and dealing. But we through that, we're able to make projects like Stakes happen. So on a really decent budget, not crazy money, but good, We're probably, I don't think we could do what Dead of Winter is doing anywhere else in the world. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't fly. We tried to go down to Georgia and do this. No way. We tried to go to Hollywood and do this. No way. It just would not fly. It wouldn't happen because we're thinking outside the box. We're thinking of new ways to do stuff. So.
But that's what makes Massachusetts and the New England area like a true indie film community. It's actually connected. And even with you, I interact with filmmakers from that area, and everybody knows you. Everybody's like, oh yeah, James, that's my guy. And it's just like, you all know each other, and you're a true community that works with each other.
And we foster that, and we grow that, and we've been growing it. For the last 10 years, everything we're doing now has been building up to this over the last decade at least. Because, how long can we sustain things on the business side the way that they're going? You can't. It's not realistic. It's not possible forever. So you got to think of new ways to do things, and that's just what we're doing.
Now, you mentioned Dead of Winter. That's new. And of course, we have a little bit of an insight into it outside of this. But can you tell our listeners what is Dead of Winter Entertainment and what is Dead of Winter Horror Network?
Well, we've got the overall company is Dead of Winter Entertainment. That is our C Corp corporation, that are our umbrella that we put over all of our extending affiliates and other properties. Basically, the idea for Dead of Winter Entertainment is giving us a business-oriented hub to get the scattered talent in the horror community under one company without them losing their identity. Because that's the most important thing to me. That was the most important thing to me creating this, because I'm very proud of what we've done with it. Came from the 508 before Dead of Winter, obviously. And I didn't want to lose that as my creative brand in the process. So it was tricky, it's like a rebranding without having to rebrand. Like, we really wanted our cake and wanted to eat it too. Like, we didn't want to give up anything. We just wanted to gain. And I think we've pulled it off. I think everybody's really stoked about what we're bringing to the table so far. As far as by extension of Dead of Winter Entertainment, the Dead of Winter Horror Network is our one arm of our creative branch, which is the podcast network, which amazingly, I don't know, strangely, it seems like I'm on one of those shows like every day lately. It's pretty cool. I don't know why any of them will want to talk to me, but yeah, so Dead of Winter Podcast Network, and we've got a ton of shows. We're talking to more shows. We're going to really grow this thing. 3Haunted, proud affiliate, proud part of the family, along with my two podcasts, Beneath the Red Umbrella and Culture Shock, along with Throwdown Thursday, Shark Bites, Living Dead Ghouls, That Strange Show, and a Wicked Horror Show in a Pear Tree. We got a ton of cool stuff. And the important thing about Dead of Winter Horror Network, and I think you guys have probably noticed it being part of the network now and checking out the shows, none of them are the same thing. We're not offering a bunch of the same shit. It's everybody's got their own vibe, their own flavor, their own approach to how they put out horror content, and that's really what we were aiming for too. When you go to the Dead of Winter Horror Network, you're not just getting, oh, okay, there's 5 topical shows, cool. No, it's a whole mix of stuff. And I mean, some of it's so out of pocket, so like some crazy stuff like Beneath the Red Umbrella, talk show stuff like what we're doing here, and Living Dead Ghouls doing their thing like the all women, which I think is always amazing, and all the all women approach to the horror perspective, which I think's rad as hell. And then we got comedy, and we got all kinds of stuff. It's fun. It's fun. It's growing, and it's just getting better and better every day.
Yeah, I always I've noticed, the announcements as they come out of who's joining the network and getting to take a peek at the different shows that are becoming a part of the family. And it's really exciting because, like you said, everyone has their own unique individual, tone that they're bringing to it. So it's exciting to see how the personalities of the family evolve.
Oh yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. I'm amazed we've gotten where we've gotten. I was like, we're gonna try this. We'll see what happens. Like, just no one's ever done it before. So in the way that we're doing it, so it's like, I don't know. Maybe people will like it. I have no idea. Let's just ask them. And people dug it, and here we are. And yeah, it's just gonna get wild. Now, the horror festival is a whole other bag of cats.
That's the other arm. Actually, how many arms do you have? He's counting.
5.
5 arms. Yes.
5. But the horror festival is really what kicked this all off. Last year, right around this time, I started to kind of bubble in my head a little bit. I was like, well, we need another convention up here that's not. A lot of our conventions since the pandemic have gone in like one of two directions. They're either indie, like mom and pop, homegrown, grassroots, and we do our best, and they're awesome. Don't get me wrong, they're freaking great. Monster Expo, the main one, is an amazing show. They really do an awesome job. Joe Souza and his wife Wendy and everybody, they really put a lot into that, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But then you have the other direction where it's heavily corporatized. I mean, like overtly anti-consumer would be the way I would put it. Like to the point where it's like, well, we could go to this convention or we could go to Disney World. Pick. Like it's like on that level of expensive. And I'm just like, that's nuts. It's like there's got to be a way to give the horror community a premium experience without breaking their wallet. Which is where Dead of Winter came from. Last year, I was like, let's put it on a horror festival. We've got enough brains on our team to come together and think of ways to make this like a truly epic experience without charging people God knows what at the door, And we did. In 70 days, we pulled this whole freaking show off, and that's nuts. That still boggles my mind that we pulled it off in a month and change, like, is really what it comes down to. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts. And it hit.
Now, is this predominantly a film festival?
No.
Okay.
No. It's everything. That's what makes us a little different. A little different from your average convention. It is truly a hybrid horror convention experience. Usually when you go to a horror convention and they have a film festival, it's like tucked behind a broom closet, underneath the third basement. You got to give a guy a password at the door. He's probably got one eye. His name's Lefty. Like, and then maybe you find like a 8x10 screen showing a film loop with like one really weird guy in the corner that you kind of don't want to sit next to. Like, that's the usual film festival experience at a convention. And we were like, that's not cool, man. Like, these people put blood, sweat, tears, all this effort into this stuff. Why? And it just gets shoved into a corner. And I get why to some degree in the bigger shows and all that happens. But we went the entire opposite way. We said, let's make this a main event. Let's make this something that these people, these filmmakers and the fans can come and be proud of and go, look at this crazy thing that they did. So what do? We go to Mechanics Hall, which is this absolutely incredible convention venue in Worcester, Massachusetts. We say, let us rent this whole thing and we're going to pack it and everybody is going to be very happy when this is all said and done. And they, for some crazy reason, agreed and gave us free reign to do whatever we wanted in the building, which one might call a mistake, but that's fine. And so in there, they have this place called the Great Hall, and it's this place that's usually used for major functions and all this. And we come to discover in the Great Hall that they have a 25 by 30 screen with a projector. And I say, I want to play the movies on that. And we did. And it was awesome. And we made a whole, and it's not just the movies, it's an entire live show. There's presentations, there's the whole nine. We go all out. We went all out, and it was a huge dice roll. It was a massive amount of effort. It was a shit ton of money. God, it was a lot of money. I still can't believe how much money we spent. But at the end of the day, it was a massive, massive success.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. It was worth it. But that's just the first half. The other half is it is an entire convention on top of that. It is a genuinely hybrid experience. There's vendors in the screening floor. There's vendors downstairs in the main vendor hall, while trailers from upstairs are playing in the hall.
Oh, cool.
It's a hybrid event. It's not just one or the other, or this is the focus, this isn't the focus. I didn't want to make anything the focus. Everybody is important at Dead of Winter. If you work a vendor table, if you sign in autographs, if you put a movie in our reel, you get the VIP treatment 100%. You get the full ride just like anybody else that's working the festival. We're not about trying to lord over anybody or be more important than. This is about lifting the community up and really making something out of it. And people responded. It was absolutely epic. We had an absolutely insane turnout. To be completely honest, we're not prepared for the turnout that we got. I put in a lot of work that day. I got my steps in. I went like 3 floors back and forth all day long. It was terrible, but I loved every second of it. That's Dead of Winter Horror Festival, and we're doing it again this year. But this year we're doing it for 2 days. It's not because I hate myself and I want to do more.
You hate yourself, but you love your community.
I hate myself, but I love my community. So I really, really, really wanted to make sure that my legs just do not function for an entire week after this is done. This year it's even more stuff. Like we're including podcasts from the network. We've got an award show. We've got all kinds of stuff happening. It's going to be nuts. More stuff than I can actually talk about yet. There's some more things, surprises and whatnot that are a lot down the road. That's just stuff we've announced, so that's fine. But no, and then from the popularity of Dead of Winter Horror Festival, we all sat down like the very next day over a Zoom call, and we're like, okay, I don't think anybody expected that to happen, but what are we gonna do with this? Like, we can't just sit on this. That's crazy. And we've talked about this extensively behind the scenes over the years, where I've had this like dream of bringing all the production houses that I can under one company and focusing our efforts into making a bigger impact. And it was the first thing that popped out of my mouth. I was like, Dead of Winter Entertainment. It's time. It's clearly time. Like, we just did that. Clearly people like us, so like we can do this. It's okay. And yeah, Dead of Winter Entertainment was born the very next day. John, our amazing COO, John Keogh, went out, filed the C Corp filed the C Corp paperwork. I signed my life away on the dotted line. We got a bank account, and we're in business. This is a legit thing.
You signed your life away as one does.
As one does. I've done it several times now, so this is fine. It's just a little extra.
Notice he said life and not soul. He lost that soul a while ago.
That's long gone.
Long gone.
Obviously, you guys had a huge turnout. I've never been in New England, so I'm curious about the type of people that come to these festivals. Is it just the same type of people? Is it like people that are more into vampires, people that are more into like paranormal? Like, is it just all walks of life's horror, or what are you guys geared towards? Or is there any
I'm actually incredibly proud to say that it is all walks of life, my friend. Horror community up here is extremely accepting of all people. We're all freaks and weirdos, and we love it. And we love it the freakier and weirder you are. If you guys come to Dead of Winter, you can come in costume, you can come in drag, you can come dressed as fucking Mickey Mouse. I don't care.
Hell yeah.
It doesn't matter. We love everything about the horror. We love that was amazing. We love everything about the horror community. We love everybody in the horror community. We want everybody to come and have a good time. Whether you're wearing blue jeans or bondage gear, we don't care. Come and have a good time. And you know what? That is exactly the exact stretch of people we had at the show. We had like 15 featured cosplayers, whole bunch of people, like a whole modeling agency and like fancy clothing came on top of that. It was nuts. But it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful to see all of these people that just, it didn't matter what they looked like. It didn't matter what, they might believe or who they love or whatever. It didn't matter. They were just there to celebrate horror movies and horror stuff. And that is exactly what Dead of Winter Horror Festival is. Come out and celebrate horror stuff.
Sounds like
That's
heaven.
awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I don't get sent to a convention the weekend that is, because if I'm not booked for that weekend, I'm flying out for this.
Oh, you've gotta. So gotta. You will love the show this year.
I'm crashing on your couch.
I mean, that's fine. I don't care. No, I mean we can talk more privately about what we're cooking up. I mean, I can't say it on live yet, but this is not to be missed. This is not to be missed. It's gonna be one for the books. That's for sure.
And you can tell us when it is, right?
I think he announced the dates already, didn't you?
February 22nd and 23rd.
Okay.
At Mechanics Hall in Worcester, Massachusetts. 12 to 6 p.m. both days, and then I may just be a secret third time slot being added to that at some point. I'm not just gonna throw that out there. I can't say what or when, but again, things that we're cooking up that will be very exciting.
Now, you are very, at this point, film, audio, entertainment based. Do you ever anticipate that you guys would expand into the horror book network of things in terms of like writing, publishing, anything like that? I see that smile. He's like, I'll never tell.
Yeah, remember that fifth arm I said I couldn't talk about?
Oh, okay. So what's the arm you were about to talk about? Let's go there.
Dead of Winter Direct.
There we go.
And this is where all of our filmmakers come in, because one thing that I realized very early in my film career is that when you make shorts and you're done showing it at festivals, like you can't afford to submit to festivals anymore, and you've got to do something with it, there's nowhere for it to go. You can put it on YouTube and just watch it die, which is fine. It's the truth. Don't look at me like that. You know I'm right. It's the truth. You put a short on YouTube, you might get like 200, 300, 400 views. But unless you're taking the easy way out, like doing a fan film or something like that has like name notoriety, it's just gonna die off. It is. So a couple of years ago, well, God, maybe 5 years ago now, I had an epiphany. And my epiphany was, what if we had a homegrown, independent digital distribution system where you could put the focus on that work and only that work and advertise it as part of that service without cutting out all the middlemen, like the YouTubes and the Amazons and the Tubies of the world, and just here you go, put money in my pocket, you get movie, that's it. And I started thinking about pricing structure for like how a short would work for that, like what's an acceptable amount of money for a short. And then I thought, well, what if we just rented them? And it was like, yeah, who's going to care about paying $1? Like, that's not that big of a deal. So we did some programming savvy. We created, it came from the 508 Direct. We put all our movies up there. And then it made us a lot of money. I don't know how else
That
to
you
word
could put into the festival.
that I could put into other things. Yeah, but it made us a whole boatload of money, and I just went, well, okay. And then once Dead of Winter came about, and we're talking about the nuts and bolts and the infrastructure, and I'm like, well, I've already got a digital service, guys. Like, I've got a lot of experience in that realm, and it's up and running. Like, let's just rebrand it. And there you go, Dead of Winter Direct. And this now will be encompassing all of our companies' filmmakers' movies, not just it came from the 508. Magenta Manners films will be in there. Lee Visuals, Thornfall Society, Bone Lady, Lockbridge. They're all going to be having stuff pop up, and soon, very soon.
Now, where did the name come from?
Dead of Winter?
Yeah.
Well, about right before the pandemic, 2019, I did a film festival to launch the box called Dead of Autumn. Now, that was also very successful, but not on the scale that Dead, not nearly close on the scale of what Dead of Winter was. But it was successful enough, and I was proud of it, and it did well. Some things happened behind the scenes that didn't, like, really, I didn't want to keep that name. Let's just put it that way. Didn't want to keep that name. I was like, this is tainted. It was like Al Bundy when he, like, his wife took over his rec room. I was like, this room has been tainted. Anyway, so I said, no, can't use that. And this was actually like a year ago, the conversation we had a year ago about it. And somebody just said, well, we really like the Dead of. And I went, yeah, I mean, we could use Dead of Winter. And everybody just kind of stopped and went, why don't we? Because that's a good name. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
Works for me. I don't like to think that hard. So here we go.
No, it's catchy. It's horror, and I think it's perfect. I was just curious where it came from.
I absolutely love the logo. Jeremy Aruda, one of our main guys. He made that Skullflake logo with the snowflake with the skull in it, and I just love that. I love the look of it. It when he sent that to me, I was like, yeah, that's us. That's us in a nutshell. I love that. And no, I think the logo design's fantastic. I love the name. Yeah, I'm really happy with all of it. I'm just really happy with all of it. I'm really happy with everything lately. It's been going well.
We're gonna all have to go out and get tattoos of our logos.
That's right. That's awesome. I think I'm going to throw that in the code of conduct. Like, must have tattoo of your show and the Skullflake.
I'll take it.
Sweet.
I've been talking about getting our ghosty tattooed. So
that would be
I've been getting prodded behind the scenes to get It Came from the 508 tattoo for a very long time. Now I got so many logos that I'm responsible for. I'm like, what am I going to look like? A fucking NASCAR driver? Just...
You're going to look like one of those, what are they called? The stepper repeats of just all of the logos.
Yeah, exactly it. Just take my back and just bounce the logos.
Exactly. You're a walking banner. So Beneath a Red Umbrella. That is a beautiful, terrifying, fucked up masterpiece.
Thank you.
Where did that come from?
I write a lot.
You don't say.
Yeah, I write a lot. And I never want to like get rid of a story or give up a story. I feel like every story, no matter how many people reads it, has value. It has its place in the world. The art of storytelling is dying, in my opinion. And so the more stories I can put out into the world, the better. Red Umbrella came out of a necessity for me to explore a different artistic approach to horror storytelling. I don't want to say that I got bored making short films, but I got bored making short films. I was a little just tired of the whole process. At that point, I had done it more times than I could freaking count if you add up all of the content we've put out over the last 10 years. When people think of me as a filmmaker, they think One Last Kill, The Box, and Bro, which are my sole directorial credits, sure. But they don't think about all the skits I directed for Horror Sphere. Don't think about all the skits I directed for Slash TV. So like, if you add it all up, which I did one day, and it made me have extra gray hair in my beard. I've directed somewhere like north of like 28 shorts.
Wow.
At that point, it's like I think I've done everything I can here, which is where Stakes came from. I was like, I need to make a feature. I was like, I gotta grow. I gotta do something different. Well, who would have thunk it? But features take a while. Features take a while to fund. Features take a while to get planned. Features take a while, period. Everything about a feature, if you're not like a big Hollywood studio with hundreds of millions of dollars, everything about making a feature film is hard. Well, if you want to do it well. I'm sure there's people out there that throw a feature film together in a couple of weeks and they make something that is certainly a movie. But if you want to do it well, it takes a while.
I mean, the writing process takes a while just on its own.
It took me 9 months to write Stakes and get it where I was happy. And that's just me plugging at it and then sending it to people that I trust as scripties to give me like editing notes. Yes, Ashley being one of them. She got to read Stakes almost before anybody else.
I fucking loved it. I read it, and I remember immediately after reading it, messaging him and saying, how can I be part of this? Like, that is how much I loved that script.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I truly consider Stakes my masterpiece. I do. Even still after all the Red Umbrella and all that stuff, which is what we're supposed to be talking about. So, as far as I remember. So with Red Umbrella, I started seeing all these stories that like I knew I just didn't have the budget for to make movies out of. I was like, this will never happen as a movie. It's great, but this will never happen as a movie. This will never happen as a movie. This will never happen as a movie. And then I started to kind of rifle through this archive I have going. I have almost a terabyte of writing hanging around. I'm ridiculous. Especially during the pandemic, I was super bored. So I wrote a lot of things. And I just started to notice like reoccurring themes in some of them. And I was like, there's something going on here. So then I started plucking stories. I was like, but what do I do with it? And I was listening to War of the Worlds on vinyl. The old Orson Welles 1946, the thing that made everyone freak out. I'm listening to it and I'm like, I wonder what this would be like if it was good.
James.
I'm sorry. I'm sure that would ruffle. First of all, most people these days probably do not even know that War of the Worlds was a radio cast or who Orson Welles are. I'm an old man, okay? And that's even before my time. But, truth of the matter is, it was delivered in a specific way as a newscast. At the time, it was supposed to be dreamt, but even the people that were listening to it believed it was a real thing, that it was a newscast. And it was like, newscasts back then were not what I would call exciting. They weren't. So I sat back and I thought about it, and I'm like, how do we make this interesting? What elements can we bring in to ratchet up the suspense, ratchet up the tension, make it scary, make it different? And I think, it's fair to say that a lot of my experience as a director of film has colored how I approach Beneath the Red Umbrella. Even if you listen to other audio storytelling podcasts, they do not have... very good friend of mine, Steve Van Samson from Retro Redoctopus podcast and Rough House Publishing, calls it the James Lamond touch. Which I'm very flattered and appreciative of, that some people out there give me like some kind of signature thing that I do. That's just wild to me. But a lot of audio storytelling podcasts do not have a note for like build-ups, how to ratchet up tension, how to release that tension, knowing when things need to get intense, knowing when things need to slow down. Usually at best you get like a underlying theme music that just kind of loops while someone narrates. And I was like, that's cool, but it's not cool enough to be my thing. So we're going to make this cooler. And First season, I pulled in like 25 actors, just saying, "Hey, we're gonna try this new crazy thing. You want to give it a whirl? It's gonna be a hoot." And
It's gonna be a hoot.
everybody lined up and did it, and it was awesome. And yeah, and I spent like 3 months just doing technical wizardry on all the episodes, and then we finally dropped it, and shit just blew up. People loved it.
Well, you have a James Lamond touch with
Yeah.
the audio itself. You had an idea of how to insert different sound and audio to really kind of subtly, without people realizing it, create discomfort and tension. And unless you know it's there, a lot of people probably don't realize it's happening, and it's really neat.
No, I think the best compliment, I've gotten two really great compliments. My aunt messaging me at like 3 o'clock in the morning during season 1 saying, "This is so fucking scary. What's wrong with you?" And then a friend of mine just a couple of weeks ago, season 2, saying, "Yeah, I had to sleep with the lights on last night. Thanks." I was just like, "I made it.
I made it. I made it.
I love that, the use of sound for just ratcheting up all that. That's I think of video games a lot of times, because when video games, when shit's gonna hit the fan and you start having these baddies come in, there's that music, but it's obviously very deliberate and more in your face. But this one sounds like it's more, like Ashley was saying, more subtle, and that's great. I love that.
I mean, it's usually subtle, but then it's
Sometimes
certain
it's
points.
not.
Sometimes it's not so subtle. Sometimes it's not so subtle. It all depends what's happening. But I think that's one of the major advantages to the show, is that the music does change to fit whatever the mood is at the time. And I would say, PJ, you nailed it right on the head, man. Like, video games were probably subconsciously a huge inspiration to that. I'm a huge fan of Souls-like RPGs, like the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and the way they use music is just at pretty much organic and also very deliberate themed all at the same time. And I got to imagine that somewhere in the back of my head, like that was going on in my thought process. That was part of it. So I don't think you're wrong at all. But video games are a great example, and I think video game music doesn't get enough credit. They have great theming in video games that nobody seems to take seriously, and that's very annoying.
Do you have an end in sight for the man, or are you kind of just threading this through as these stories hit you with inspiration?
No, there's. I believe that was a very loaded question, Ashley, because I believe you are trying to get the answer to a theory you have.
I have nothing.
That there's a bigger story at play.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought. I will confirm that there is an end in sight for the Man with the Red Umbrella, but that does not mean it will be the end of Beneath the Red Umbrella.
Nice.
Yeah, I see a way where I finished the Man with the Red Umbrella's story, and we can still keep going as a much more anthological story. Like, it really will be like Monster of the Week, Creep of the Week kind of stuff. But I want to go, like, I think I want to take Beneath the Red Umbrella, like, season 3 and beyond. Maybe not season 3, because, I still got some more stuff to do with the Man with the Red Umbrella. But beyond that, I want to go in a much more pulpy Tales from the Crypt. Like, I want to take the. I was experimenting this season. I tried some new stuff, and I feel like this is a platform that we can really like just get wild with and start doing some other stuff, not just like the hyper dark, super scary stuff. Like, we could bring in some other elements. And I was experimenting with that this season, and I think people responded to it really well. So that excited me a lot.
I like that you mentioned Tales from the Crypt, because I think it was on your Instagram. I think you posted something about Tales from the Hood. I just watched that last night for the first time in like years, and I was like, oh, I forgot how great this was.
I saw that movie the day it came out in the theaters, and I shouldn't have because I was like 12.
I was gonna say,
God, that movie's so good. I love anthology movies. I love anthologies. I love collections of short stories. Tales from the Hood, Body Bags, Masters of Horror.
I like Tales from the
Creepshow.
Dark Side.
Tales from the Dark Side is another fantastic one. Creepshow.
Yeah.
I love anthology stories, especially when there's a big theme around Trick or Treat.
Mhm.
Trick or Treat's another great example. Especially when they're all themed around something. So like Creepshow, like they're themed around the comic book. Tales from the Hood, they're literally themed around the hood.
You don't say.
Yeah. But I love stuff like that. I love when you come together and you give people like a feature-length experience with multiple stories. I think that's fun.
Yeah, I feel like we still quote that in my house. Like, it probably not appropriate given the age of children, but you know, it's like you will be knee deep in the shit.
Best of all the anthologies though, Tales from the Hood has the best ending.
Yes.
Hands down, the best ending. That twist was like when I first saw it, I was like,
You didn't see it. Like,
Did not see
I've
it
watched
coming at
so
all.
many horror movies, and that one I did not see at all.
I attribute that to being the thing that put the idea that twist endings can be cool in my head, which I've done a few of those, so.
You don't say. Now,
Yeah.
I love how dark your mind goes. I know season 2 for Beneath the Red Umbrella went even more. It went darker. It went more twisted, and I absolutely loved that. When you sent me Mr. Stitches and I read that, I remember, I think, what did I said something along the lines to you of, oh my God, you were so fucked up. By the way, I loved it.
Yeah. I think that's a direct quote, and pretty much everybody that was involved with Mr. Stitches said something similar. How do I word this? I'm trying to be diplomatic. I'm not good at that. I'm never
We're
good.
not, this isn't a diplomatic show.
All right, horror doesn't feel dangerous anymore. I have a big gripe with a lot of modern horror, bringing the punch like right there, but then not giving the full extension. I think people play it way too safe these days. They're too afraid to offend somebody. Oh no.
My
And
pearls.
Yeah, my pearls. I'm gonna clutch them.
I'm gonna clutch 'em. You did that really well. Are you sure you're not from the South?
Somebody's getting canceled. Gretchen, get my clutch. I can't. I just can't work that way. I can't. I'm like the horror version of Christopher Columbus. I'm trying to find the horizon. I'm trying to find where I can take things so far, but make it so good that even when people are like, that is the most foul thing I've ever heard, but I could not stop watching. That's the magic place I want to be.
like the George Carlin of horror.
Yeah, I'm trying to push my work to a place that gets like just untouchably good, but also absolutely depraved all at the same time. And I think not enough people are doing that anymore. Like, even the people that were. I mean, I love Stephen King. I love Clive Barker. But you read a Stephen King or Clive Barker book from 1985, it is a very different experience than reading a Stephen King or Clive Barker book from 2020. You can feel the punches being pulled, and they're still impeccably well written. Those guys they're kings of the genre for a reason. They earned it. They're that damn good. But you just feel it. Like there's a place that they wanted to go that they were afraid to, because that's the world we live in now. Everybody's afraid to offend, afraid to push that button, afraid to even have a conversation about something that makes them feel uncomfortable. We've become a society that lives in these protected little echo chamber bubbles where everybody's just agreeing with each other, and every opinion that doesn't fit in that bubble is going over here. And I just can't live that way. I can't think that way. I can't create that way, and I never will. if something interests me, if something turns me on, I don't care how crazy or brutal or violent or whatever it is, like I'm gonna find the way to make that work because that's what I do. That's what excites me. So I would never. I will say this: it's only as far as Beneath the Red Umbrella goes, it's only going to get darker from here.
Sometimes I wonder though, especially when it comes to like the masters of horror, whether we're talking about Clive or Steven or anybody else, I sometimes wonder if that speaks to where they were in that moment in time. So like in their 20s, 30s, they were in that darker place and now it's they're not as, I don't know, for lack of a better word other than tortured. So they still keep those because that's kind of the nature of who they are. They still keep in the genres that they thrive in with horror. And obviously they have the technique and the skill, but they just aren't in as dark of those spaces as they were then, if that makes
I
sense.
I would argue that tens of millions of dollars would soften anybody's approach to anything. I wouldn't be as angry if I were rich.
Which makes me wonder why that might be why they don't go as dark. They don't go as demented. They just aren't there. I don't know, but because I also think sometimes, and I could be wrong, but I think some people also kind of start to fear those places, like within themselves. And so they pull those punches because it's like, well, if I go that dark, then that's me being in that dark space. And I do wonder if sometimes people develop kind of like with tattoos, people get needle shy. So I do wonder sometimes if artists, screenwriters, whatever, genre or not genre, but media that they're delving in with the horror category, if they start to fear that place. I don't know though.
I mean, I think it's probably the answer is probably somewhere in the middle of all of it. You know what I mean? There's probably some softening with age. There's probably the fact that they don't have to struggle as hard as they used to.
Well, I
So they're
need
not
you
trying to be
not
as
to soften, okay?
yeah, but they don't have to be as sensational as they once were, or they don't feel like they don't have to be as sensational as they once were. And yeah, I also feel like there's probably a part of people somewhere around, in there that they do get afraid of where their mind is going and where the story goes. I mean, all this stuff takes me to a dark place. It's but at the end of the day, it's still just a story.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about when I'm doing the work. Is it's just a story. Yeah, like I'm having these dark thoughts in the moment and I'm thinking of all this crazy shit that I put in there, but when I put the keyboard down, because it's 2024, no one's writing anything with a pen and a paper anymore. Let's be realistic. When I put the keyboard down and I'm done for the day, that's it. I don't bring it home with me unless I have like a really cool idea that I want to like throw in there. That happens all the time, but that's just like immediate thoughts, and then I put it on a notepad on my phone, and then I save it for later. You can't be in that. That's the trick. I would say that's the trick. If you want to go that dark, you can't be in that headspace all the fucking time. You cannot do it. You have to take breaks. You have to go and do things you like. You have to get that out of your head. Like you can't. Don't method right. Don't be that dark asshole like 24/7 while you're working on shit. It's not going to do any good for anybody.
That's a really good tip.
Yes.
and also, what I was thinking about is these guys are really old, right? Like I feel like for me personally, like if I know I'm gonna die in like the next 10 years or so, like screw it. I'm gonna write absolutely everything. I'm gonna go as dark as I can because I don't give a fuck. And it's part of me, and this is what it is, and I feel like maybe we'll get that. I'm hoping for that, but who knows, right?
I think you'll see it out of King before you see it out of Barker, but you might
Barker's
not be
got
wrong.
his health issues though, so I don't know if
That's
he's
what I'm
going
saying.
super dark. Yeah, like
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's pretty much done doing almost everything at this point.
I'm surprised he's still doing conventions, to be honest.
He's actually, from what I heard, he's stopping conventions and he's going to work solely as producer on a couple of projects, and that's it. He's not writing anything new. He's not doing, but I mean, fair enough. Like,
Yeah.
the guy's going through it. Let it. That's fine. He did his work and he deserves his rest.
Did you watch the Pet Cemetery Bloodlines?
I did.
Did you like it?
I did, taking it objectively for what it was. I did. If you were trying to like work that into any kind of like context to the novel that made any sense, good luck to you, pal. That my head hurt. That made my head hurt. But it had cool stuff from the novel that they didn't include in the other adaptations that I thought was neat, like the society that was watching for the Wendigo. That was really cool. Timmy Baderman's story was complete horseshit. That's not how it went down in the book. That's okay. They needed to like pad out the runtime to make it like a full movie, so I respect it. It's I get why they made the decisions they made.
You're like, it's fun for what it was.
Yeah, it was fun for what it was. Objectively, I did enjoy it.
Okay.
It's just if you try to put that on any kind of like comparison to like the books, or try to work it in with the other, movie. I mean, it's supposed to be in actuality, it's supposed to be a prequel to the remake, right?
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
I believe
so. Yeah, like just take those things as their own interpretation and enjoy them as they will. I mean, I think the remake was actually hot dog shit, but that's just me.
Hot dog
me,
shit.
I'm critical of a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to yuck anybody's young. If they enjoyed it, if you enjoyed it, awesome. Glad you guys had a good time with it. But as a fan, a very big fan of that book, that whole remake can just go in the dumpster. We'll pour some gas on it. Just get the hell out of my face. I'm terrible.
Tell us how you really feel.
That swap between Gage and Lillian, no good. That was not good.
Hot dog shit.
Hot dog shit.
Hot dog shit.
Under John Lithgow, one of my favorite actors of all time, one of the best actors on this planet, character actor de jour. Like, we're talking about the fucking Trinity Killer. Like, fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Wildly underutilized as Judd.
Yes.
Did not get enough screen time. Way too much focus on the Zelda thing because they were so scary in the original, so we're going to just make the whole movie about Zelda. But it wasn't scary at that point. What made it scary in the original was that it was so sparsely used.
Yes.
That's the thing about Hollywood filmmakers I never understand. Is like you find this thing and then you just beat it into the fucking ground because you think that's what made it work. And it's like, no, it's because they didn't use a lot of it, you say.
That's how I feel about torture movies, to be honest. Like, torture when used with a, finessed touch can be amazing, but when they're like, oh, that's what messes with people, let's just nail it in, let's just keep poking that button, at some point it's like you're either desensitized like 20 minutes into the movie, or you're just like, hot dog shit.
I'll give you the perfect example. I'll give you a perfect 2-movie comparison example of what you're talking about, Ashley, to a T. It's the difference between Saw and Hostel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saw, yeah, those movies are gory. Yeah, those movies are hyper fucking violent on a lot of levels. And they work best with them. And the fact of the matter is they work best the gorier, nastier they are, because every single kill in those movies is a moral or ethical dilemma. There's purpose.
It serves the story completely.
It serves the story. There's purpose to what Jigsaw is doing. I personally do not like a lot of the Saw movies, but that's more of a plot and continuity thing than kills and gore and all that stuff. But that's not, you can't deny that all of the kills, all of the setups in those movies have a point, have a purpose. Hostel, that is torture for torture's sake. It was just Eli Roth saying, let's how much can we get away with and still get an R rating.
And don't get me wrong, Eli Roth, he has some gems, and he definitely opened up a new arm to horror that really wasn't being explored much, and some people really love that, and I get that. But for me, to your point, just it feels like you can tell intuitively when you're watching a movie when the torture is there just to, like, we're here just to make you uncomfortable, but it's not really serving the story. It's not propelling the story forward.
100% agree. I 100% agree. And I'm not shy to being incredibly violent in film, audio, play, book, whatever I'm writing down. I am not shy to people being ripped apart, destroyed, and really creative ways sometimes. But every lick of that has to serve the narrative, serve the ending, serve some point.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be gore for gore's sake. If you're just doing gore for gore's sake, you end up looking like a 13-year-old dressed in all black, pouting in the corner on Christmas Day, like, it's not a phase, Mom. This is the real me. Oh my God, you are such an edgelord. Like, stop. Nobody needed to see that spleen. It was not important.
You said it's not a phase, Mom. Oh man, that's too funny. Now, is there anything that you've seen recently that you're just like, man, watch it? Whoever is listening, this is something you need to watch.
You know, I think this year in particular, we've been eating real good at the for horror, real good. Immaculate was amazing. I loved Immaculate so much. Even more so than Immaculate, The First Omen.
I liked that one.
And you know what's weird about The First Omen is I thought going into it I wasn't going to like it. Because the idea of prequel... I'm a big Omen fan. Big Omen. I love religious horror. Religious horror. If it involves Satan and somebody getting possessed or the Catholic Church, or I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I love all of it. Like, I love Rosemary's Baby. I love The Exorcist. I love The Omen. So somebody saying, "Oh, we're gonna do a prequel to The Omen," I'm like, ugh, but they kind of already told that story. Like, we know what happened. They explained it in the first movie. It's not that. But then I watched it and I was like, "Oh, you went there? Okay." That movie's brutal. That movie is brutal and gnarly, and I was shocked. Absolutely, especially Ashley. You saw it. You know what I'm talking about. The hand.
Yeah,
The hand.
that was. Okay,
That was messed up.
I'm not gonna lie. I took my older two wanted to go see it, so I took them. Well, my middle kid is a 12-year-old boy. That scene, his eyes almost popped out of his head. And I was like, well, if you ever want to like force a kid into abstinence, just make them watch that scene. Yes, that's what comes out of girl parts.
Yeah, the hand of Satan, the literal hand of Satan.
I was trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a teachable moment, I guess. Wow. Long Legs was absolutely phenomenal.
Still haven't seen it. I need to see that.
I loved it. It was so good.
Right, John? Right? It was so good. Nick Cage was terrifying in that movie.
Yeah. Freaked me out.
And I love that he's trying different things. Like, especially at his age, a lot of people will let themselves kind of fall into a typecast of a character and just write it out. And he is not. He is trying so many different film genres.
Wild, man.
Yeah, I love it.
And just today, I saw Alien Romulus.
Yay!
I have to watch it. Don't tell me.
I saw it yesterday.
That? Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Nice.
BJ, I hope you agree with me that was really, 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 really good.
What I will say.
Uh-oh.
No, I liked it. I liked it way better than Prometheus or all the other whatever that they made. But I will say, without giving anything away, that they did borrow a few things. And
that's fair.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, that's great. I mean, as far as the story and everything, yeah, I liked it. But they did borrow a few things, and I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Borrow from which films?
All of them.
Yep.
All of them.
Yeah, seriously.
I love all of them.
All of them. Some little things, like a line or something here or there. Some very big things where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna run with that. But they're done better.
Yes.
That's the thing that made me love it so much, is that they took some of these things that were done in other Alien movies that may have not worked out so well, and then went and put their spin on it and made them way, way better. Okay. Which is probably why I initially was like, that was so good. Oh, and I still think it was really good. And I want to watch it again with a more analytical eye just to make sure I thought it was good. But My initial reaction coming out of the theater was that was the best Alien movie since Aliens, in my opinion.
You know, it's funny you mentioned how they took something, but they did it better, so you didn't mind, because that's how I felt with the first Omen. They changed the storyline a bit. They tweaked the origin a bit.
One massive tweak.
Okay, it is. It's massive. But because the movie was so solid, I almost was like, fine, that's possible. I'll take that. You rewrote history, but because this is such a solid movie, I'll accept that.
Yeah. I'm almost I feel the same, almost the same, because Romulus is kind of in an interesting place where it's not completely a sequel or completely a prequel. It's in between two different movies, so it kind of is like a void filler, which is like, I don't know if this is going to be a new genre we get of horror film. That's going to be like the
Void
not
filler.
sequel. We got a new not sequel coming out for Halloween, where it's the time when he walked over from his house to the hospital between Halloween 1 and 2. It's going to go down the street for an hour and a half. It's going to be fine.
I mean, we did wonder what he was up to in between.
Oh yeah, you know, I was hanging on the edge of my seat that we needed to know where he was for that walk. But no, I mean, obviously that's an extremely.
I figured that he was just like, I mean, he's a human still, so I figured he was like off grabbing a bite to eat and like, you know, maybe using the restroom. I don't know, being a person before he went back to kill.
He just did Bob's Chicken Shack, getting a 3-piece. He's fine.
What was that movie that just came out like a few months ago with the killer that you're basically following him the whole time? What was that movie called?
In a Violent Nature?
It was horrible. I hated it.
He said it was horrible.
Yes, I hated that movie.
Oh no, it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it either.
One awesome kill.
I didn't enjoy it either. I think I know what one you're talking about. I think I do.
I haven't watched that one yet, so I should or should not watch it.
Yes.
I feel like I okay.
Only for the one kill.
In a Violent Nature, I feel like it is a big moment in the horror zeitgeist for what it tried.
Okay, so watch it.
Yeah. I'm just to say you saw it. I'm not saying it succeeded. I'm saying you should watch it as just to make note of the fact that this is a thing that happened.
To have it in your historical books. Like, put it in there.
Yeah, if you're a horror fan, you should watch In a Violent Nature. One, because we should be supporting how much attention independent cinema is getting at the box office lately, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Which leads me to another one that I thought was great this year, Late Night with the Devil. But IFC releases are coming out great. In a Violent Nature killed it. Late Night with the Devil killed it. Whether I liked In a Violent Nature or not, it made an impact. It got people talking. That's something. It was a walking simulator.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of walking. There's a lot of fucking walking in that.
Pretty much.
You're like, and here we are, walking again.
Thought Lord of the Rings?
He was on a quest.
Right? You thought Lord of the Rings was a lot of walking? No, this motherfucker, he beat Lord of the Rings.
But the thing that makes the movie a hard sit kind of is the same problem Skinamarink had that made a lot of people not like it, I think. Not a lot of scoring in the movie.
Okay.
Not a lot of music. So it's really just the back of a guy's head while he's walking through the woods for a lot of the movie.
So I took this summer to try and catch up on any and every horror film I can. I'm still on the journey, but I will say this, and I'm probably going to be kicked out of the Horror Cool Kids Club for what I'm about to say.
They don't exist anymore.
I don't think I was ever in the Cool Kids Club, but just to put it out there, don't ever go off of my recommendations after this next statement.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
This is going to be bold. I like it.
Oh, boy. So we are in a time where I feel like people really want intellectual horror, which I don't mind. I don't mind horror that makes you think. I don't mind horror that has this story that is really the focus, because we've all said for a while, like, bring back the story. Story is important. However, I think that there is a section of horror that still needs to exist that I have good fun with, and that is horror just for good fun, entertaining horror that the story really doesn't mean too much. It's just fun. And I found, after watching quite a few movies, that there are a few gems where I would say, hey, this is not the best horror film out there. I wouldn't say add this to your zeitgeist of horror, but it's fun. And one of those happened to be Tarot that came out recently. And to me, I'm like, all right, the storyline itself, just because we are a podcast that talks about metaphysical, so we know a lot more about the tarot stuff. And I'm just like, what the fuck tarot origin are you guys? Like, this has nothing to do with the actual art practice of
It's
tarot.
not a thing.
It's
That movie
not.
is not an actual thing.
Like, exactly. Like the rules, the world, that's not real, but it's horror. And we've talked about this before. Horror, you create your world, you create your rules and roll with it. And so they had the rules, they had the world. I thought it was fun. They created characters and introduced characters that were fun. And it was just a good fun time. Is that something where I would say, guys, you have to watch it? No. But if you're looking for a fun horror that you really don't need to think about, like, that's a fun one. But don't go in expecting, I'm going to learn about tarot. That is not what this is. It's just a world they created.
It is a thing that happened.
It is a thing that happened, but it was fun. I thought the kills were fun. I thought the creatures were fun. So that was one. I also enjoyed the premise that they created for Imaginary, the one with the teddy bear. And
Haven't seen that one
it didn't quite land. I will say that. And I think that's because the ending they veered so oddly left the creature itself or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That because this whole time, and I'm trying not to spoil too much, but this whole time you're thinking this is like a demon or something, and then you're given a glimpse of this thing, and it's like, what? Is this the same movie? But still fun. I think that if they had worked a little harder on the story, that really could have been a promising like land. So that was fun. Again, not something where I would tell people like, yeah, you should watch this, but it was fun. And my kids enjoyed it. So yes, my children watch these with me.
That's fine. That's fine. Start them young. It's important.
They like it.
Very vital. Very vital.
So one quick thing about the new Alien movie, I just wanted to say, so you know how Prey came out, right? Prey, the Predator movie, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So I love that so much. Like I was waiting for that movie. I was waiting for a good Predator movie, and it exceeded my expectations, and it was went above and beyond.
So good.
100% agree.
Romulus did not do that for me, but
That's
it was
fair.
still good.
That's fair.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, no, BJ, I think that's totally a fair assessment. I definitely don't think it's on Prey's level. Prey was what Dan Trachtenberg did with that movie is just chef's kiss. Best one, hands down, since the first, without question.
Do you think that's also because they were two different types? So, like, Prey was supposed to be a true origin story kind of prequel, whereas Romulus is, like James is saying, more of like a void filler.
I don't think so.
Trying to make it fit into the puzzle versus like expanding the puzzle. No,
I just think it's basically just choices made in the films.
Okay.
Fede Alvarez definitely had more fun with Alien Romulus than Dan Trachtenberg did with Prey. That's very obvious to me. There's more fan service. There's more obvious setups. There's more. But here's the thing. He had more to work with. I think his toy box was a little too big when it comes to that stuff because he had too much stuff to reconcile with all the Alien movies because they already had fucking prequels to Alien and then other stuff over on this side. So like the lore tapestry of Alien is a hell of a lot thicker than Predator, where the best Predator movies are just random poor asshole gets stuck getting hunted by this freaking monster. And like it works every time. Like Predator 2, even Predators, the one with Adrian Brody, I thought was great.
I loved Predators.
I mean The Predator, no, not a good film. And AVP 1 and Requiem, no thanks. I'm all the way good. Please just keep those over there. But
I'll take them.
even if you just take it as Ripley's story plus Prometheus and Alien Covenant, there's a lot of plot there. It's dense.
Yeah.
Predator is way less dense plot wise. You don't have to think too hard about a Predator movie. It's really raw instinct, and it works so well. Just being that these things are happening in the moment, we don't have to think too hard about it. It's just gonna go, which is great. I feel like the toy boxes were different, and I just think Dan Trachtenberg understood the assignment a little bit better, but he had a simpler assignment.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas Fede Alvarez had a lot of things to reconcile, and he did a really good job reconciling them. He just should have taken some of the more obvious fan service and probably gone, that's probably jumping the shark. Let's not use that. But it is what it is.
I really loved in Prey how we got a glimpse into, I don't know, they put a scenario in that could make it really relatable to people, because you watch these movies and it's like, okay, yeah, this thing is out there and of course it's going to defeat humans, and you really don't have a scope of how strong and powerful it is necessarily. But then, in that movie we see the scene with it fighting the grizzly bear.
Yeah.
And just like that full on massive power between them both. You're like, holy shit, grizzly bears are terrifying. And oh my gosh, now the Predator is even more terrifying because I've seen it compete with the grizzly bear. And I was so random.
Yeah, no, I think
loved it.
The grizzly scene in Prey is an absolutely fantastic establishing scene for how freaking outmatched that poor girl is.
Yes.
When you see what he does to that grizzly, you are just like, this girl is so unbelievably fucked. Oh my god.
It is a phenomenal scene, and you really do, by giving that reference of the grizzly bear, I feel like we are able to grasp just how strong and deadly the Predator is in a different way, right? It was amazing. I love that entire movie.
Yeah, up until this point in the Predator series, we've seen the Predators take on people and aliens, and I don't think aliens provide the same level of brute strength challenge that a freaking grizzly bear does, only because aliens do not fight and hunt that way. They're stealth, they're ambush predators. So they don't work in this. It doesn't work the same in the where a grizzly bear just runs at you and headbutts things until they're dead. Like that's what a grizzly bear does. You don't get the same brute force thing. I mean, even up until Alien Romulus, aliens were aliening. They were not. Nothing was really out of the norm for what aliens do in their movies. They're still doing the alien stuff that aliens do. So you don't get that massive brute strength. Oh, these things are super strong, and yeah, the Predator's having a hard. No, you don't get that. But when we saw him do what he did to that grizzly, it was like, all right, okay, you guys are scary. Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was looking for. My words aren't with me, but exactly that. We know they have their technology. We know they have their ability to track using their technology and their super enhanced skills, but we've never actually seen their brute force in that manner. And so to see him go just full on toe to toe with the grizzly bear, it's like, oh, they are naturally just strong and deadly too. Whoa, that's terrifying.
Because we can identify with that power. We can identify with how crazy strong grizzly bears are. They're fucking real.
Yeah. They're fucking real, exactly.
Bottom line, anybody that snuck a peek of Faces of Death back in the day saw that grizzly bear take that guy's head off with one whack, and it was just like, okay, wow, that's bad.
Exactly. So
that was not good.
I think that was a brilliant choice for them to write that and include that in the movie because it did give us perspective and it really helped round out the Predator in a way we hadn't seen before. So
I fully agree. I fully agree. Prey was and is to me the GOAT. Besides the first movie, it's the best thing that series has put out, hands down. I can't wait to see what Dan does with the next one.
oh wow, this time has gone by so fast. So before we wrap this fucking awesome episode up, do we have any final thoughts or questions?
I just want to say thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I'd like to just pick your brain all the time about all these things. You have so much knowledge about all of the different horror things, and
Thank you.
and then filmmaking too. Just all of it. It's just so you're a good person to know when it comes to all of this stuff. And I'm glad
Hey
we got to
man,
talk.
I'm always a DM away. I love helping people out. I love giving my advice if people need it. I'm always available.
James is a master of horror, but also a master of business. I've come to you with all sorts of questions. I'm like, hey, can I use you as a soundboard? You're like, hit me.
I'm trying. When you're trying to be really, truly, genuinely independent, you got to know a lot about a lot. And you usually have to learn it really, really, really fast. So Google is my best friend. I know it's gotten me probably like 6 or 7 college degrees at this point that I have no credit for. So, But yeah, no, I mean, if I know a way to get it to happen and somebody needs help with it, I'm always 100% more than willing to lend a hand or just my brain when I can.
That's awesome. So, James, where do you want people to look for your stuff? Do you want them to go to It Came From the 508, Dead of Winter, all of it? Where's your preference?
I mean, oh God, this is getting hard. There's a lot of stuff. All right, so if everybody wants to check out everything we have to offer, whether it be 3Haunted, Culture Shock, the movies, all that stuff, go to deadofwinterentertainment.com. You check out the festival there, as well as a really cool cinematic video of the last show we just did with the festival. And we got more announcements for new shows coming along the way too. My personal, probably the best place to find me is just James Lamond at Facebook. Not hard to come by. Just look for the picture of the guy standing on stage with a giant stakes banner behind him. And I mean the socials. It's either Dead of Winter Entertainment or It Came From the 508 Productions on everything, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter.
Everything. Do you have merch coming for any of these awesome arms that you have? He laughs. James!
Do I have merch coming? Oh my God, yeah, we got tons of stuff. We got all right. We got new Blu-rays coming, new posters coming for something, but it might be named Schmelish Schmedum Schmella. We've got t-shirts, we've got all kinds of stuff. We're always at conventions. I'm actually dropping a surprise convention announcement on Monday. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're always at conventions. We always have our merch with us. We're usually giving away stuff all the time. If anybody comes by the booth, there's usually stuff on giveaway that you can win because we love contests and prizes and games because we're 5. And there's always new merch coming. There's new stuff. We're going to be dropping new merch stuff probably up until the festival. And then we will be announcing our RIP, which is VIP for the festival packages relatively soon. What that's going to entail. And there's more merch in the VIP package, so there's even more merch. But yeah, there's merch. There's lots of merch.
You get merch, you get merch, you get merch. Everybody gets merch.
Everybody gets merch. Yeah, but
awesome.
God, I mean, in my free time, I've just like, because I do a lot of the graphic design stuff we do too. So I've just been pumping it while working on my new short on top of that, because I had a new short under my belt, another short on my brain, apparently. I sleep. What's the point of that? We
You
need
don't
that.
sleep. Like,
Sleep's not important.
you're also a vampire, so
Wow. I have my I mean, I'm starting to wonder.
somebody get across.
I've been asking questions. Let's just put it that way.
They have telephone hotlines for those questions.
They don't.
He's tried.
I've tried.
They don't. All right. Well, we really do appreciate you coming on, James. I could talk to you all night. All right. John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
I sure do. I do want to say that I am looking forward to steaks, and we haven't said the word fuck enough on this episode for fuck, fuckity, fuck.
I like vulgarity.
Yes. And like Ashley said, James, we could talk to you all night. I love having you on. It's absolutely an amazing time. So thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you guys having me. I always have a good time on 3Haunted. So.
Hell yeah. And thank you to our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You do not want to miss one crazy moment.
Be sure to check out our website at 3hauntedpodcast.com for guest information, podcast episodes, and merch. Because if we haven't said that enough, merch.
Merch.
Until next time.